This year, our international affairs editor, Rageh Omaar, highlighted the suffering in the territory which has declared independence from Somalia. In the latest part of our Fighting Famine series, he's returned to find people more desperate than ever.
As soon as you step into Somaliland's only therapeutic malnutrition clinic, and the scale of the tragedy gripping this country hits you. I was last here less than 2 months ago. Back then, every bed was filled with sick and hungry children and their desperate mothers. But today, there are so many cases that doctors have resorted to laying them on the hospital floor. The cases of malnutrition are more severe now than before. Hamda is 18 months old. She's 18-year-old Nawal's only child. After 11 days being on the edge of death, she is now stable. Though looking at her painfully frail body, it's hard to believe that. Dr. Khader showed me around these very same wards back in March. He says he and his colleagues have reached the limit of what they can do.
We need medicine as well as the infrastructure, because we can't
cope anymore.
Yeah, we cannot cope anymore.
We return to eastern Somaliland, the area hardest hit by the worst drought in 2 centuries. Here too, we found a deteriorating situation. The final hope that rains would come this month has failed for the 3rd year running. The 1.5 million nomads who rely on livestock have seen over 10 million animals lost to the drought. The last few they have are now dying. Makeshift camps for those displaced by the drought spring up by the sides of roads between towns and cities. The small amounts of food donated by local businessmen and religious leaders is currently the only lifeline this camp has to stave off hunger. People in nearby towns have also donated a few trucks of water to these destitute nomads, but the wells which were dug for them are now dry, and people don't know when or if the local community is able to donate more. The number of displaced camps has increased, as have the number of desperate families fleeing here, and yet when they arrive, they find no water, no food and very basic shelter. It's hard to escape the conclusion that several weeks on from when we were last here, the situation is far worse. As we drove back, we were stopped by worried villagers carrying a man struck by cholera. It's what everyone feared 2 months ago, that we'd see the outbreak of deadly diseases that would soon start taking lives. We called an ambulance and he was taken to hospital. A few hours ago we learned he is critical but stable. Severe drought now teeters on the edge of famine. Emergency supplies in Somaliland's threadbare clinics have never been more desperately or more urgently needed. Rageh Omaar, ITV News, Somaliland.